Are you deaf or just lost? This seating is for distinguished visitors and active duty personnel on orders, not for drifters. The voice was sharp, a polished weapon designed to cut, and it sliced through the low hum of the Ramstein Air Base passenger terminal. Colonel Richard Vance stood with his hands on his hips, his perfectly pressed flight suit a stark contrast to the man he was addressing. The man in question was old, seated on one of the plush chairs near the space travel desk. His clothes were clean but worn, a faded flannel shirt and khaki pants that had seen better decades. A simple, worn-out duffel bag rested at his feet. He looked up, his eyes a pale, watery blue, but they held a calmness that seemed to absorb the colonel's hostility without reflecting any of it back. He didn't seem intimidated or even surprised. He simply looked tired, like a man who had traveled a very long way, not just across an ocean, but across a lifetime. "I'm waiting for a flight," the old man said, his voice raspy but steady. Colonel Vance let out a short, incredulous laugh. "A flight with what?" "A museum pass. This is an active military installation. I need to see your identification and your travel orders." He snapped his fingers now, an arrogant, dismissive gesture that made a nearby airman first class flinch. The young airman had been about to offer the old man a bottle of water, but he froze, caught in the gravitational pull of the colonel's rank. The old man sighed, a slow, weary sound, and reached into the pocket of his thin jacket, producing a laminated ID card, its edges yellowed with age. Vance snatched it, lip curling as he examined the faded photograph of a younger man with the same steady eyes. "Samuel Peterson," Vance read, dripping with condescension. "Retired. Well, Peterson, your retirement status doesn't grant you access to priority seating, meant for deploying warfighters and senior leadership. You see these men and women around you." He gestured to the uniformed personnel. "They are the tip of the spear. You are a relic. Now take your bag and move to the general waiting area with the rest of the civilians." Samuel Peterson didn't move. He simply watched the colonel, expression unreadable. "I could wait here," he said quietly, not as a challenge, but as a fact. This enraged Vance further. "Are you questioning my authority? I am a full-bird colonel in the United States Air Force." The tension became palpable as people pretended not to stare. The humiliation was public, a gross abuse of power, and no one dared intervene. Samuel Peterson slowly pushed himself to his feet, joints popping, hand on his back. As he reached for his bag, Vance stepped forward again. "Your generation is what's wrong with this country," he sneered, claiming he had flown more combat hours in 5 years than Peterson had in his career. Peterson's calm cracked, not with anger, but with pity. "I served," he said with quiet dignity. For Vance, this was the last straw. He mocked him, demanding to know his unit, his job, and finally his call sign. The terminal fell silent as Vance leaned in smugly. Peterson's eyes carried fire now, the years falling away. When he spoke, the words carried impossible weight. "Hawk 8, the name dropped like a depth charge. Vance scoffed, unaware, but across the room a grizzled master sergeant froze, his coffee mug shattering on the floor. Others slowly lowered newspapers. A command sergeant major stopped in his tracks. The name echoed in the few who knew whispered lore, a myth from the shadows. Vance tried to continue, but the master sergeant was already moving. He marched past Vance, snapped to rigid attention in front of Samuel, and delivered a salute sharp enough to cut glass. "Sir Master Sergeant Evans, 3rd Special Tactics Squadron." "It is an honor, sir." Vance sputtered, demanding an explanation. Evans didn't look at him. "I'm not saluting a civilian, Colonel. I'm saluting a ghost." Just then, General Marcus Thompson entered the scene, commander of United States Air Forces in Europe. Was on his way to his aircraft, his 4-star rank parting the crowds like a ship's bow through water. His face was a thundercloud of annoyance. He hated public displays, especially from his senior officers. "Colonel Vance, what is all this?" he boomed, his voice accustomed to filling hangars and commanding obedience. Vance spun around, his face a mixture of shock and relief. "General, sir, my apologies. I was just dealing with a civilian who was refusing to—" He stopped mid-sentence. The general was no longer looking at him. His eyes, sharp and intelligent, had found Samuel Peterson. The thundercloud on the general's face vanished, instantly replaced by an expression of pure, unadulterated shock, which then morphed into something Vance could not comprehend on the face of a 4-star general: awe, absolute reverence. General Thompson did something that stunned every person in that terminal. He walked directly past the saluting Colonel Vance without a glance. He walked past the still at attention Master Sergeant Evans. He walked straight up to the old man in the faded flannel shirt, stood before him, and rendered the sharpest, most heartfelt salute of his entire decorated career. "Sam," the general whispered, his voice cracking slightly. "My God, is it really you?" Samuel Peterson, the man they called Hawk 8, slowly raised a hand and returned the salute with the practiced ease of a lifetime. A small, sad smile touched his lips. "It's been a while, Marcus." The entire terminal was now utterly silent and still. Every eye was locked on the tableau. A 4-star general saluting an old man who looked like he didn't have a penny to his name. Colonel Vance stood frozen, his mouth slightly agape, his world tilting on its axis. He couldn't process what he was seeing. General Thompson held his salute for a long moment before slowly lowering his hand. He turned and his gaze fell upon Colonel Vance. The warmth and reverence in his eyes instantly evaporated, replaced by a glacial fury so intense it made Vance feel like the air had been sucked from his lungs. "Colonel," General Thompson said, his voice dangerously quiet, "do you have any idea who you were speaking to?" "Sir, I retired, his ID," Vance stammered, his arrogance dissolving into panicked confusion. "His name," the general cut in, his voice like chipping ice, "is Chief Master Sergeant Samuel Peterson. And while that is the name the Air Force officially gave him, it is not the name by which legends know him. To the men whose lives he saved, to the operators he flew into hell and back, to the very soul of the Special Operations community, he is known by one name and one name only: Hawk 8. The general took a step closer to Vance, his eyes burning with righteous fire. "Let me educate you, Colonel, on a piece of history you clearly missed while you were polishing your eagle. In the late 1960s, there was a clandestine unit flying highly modified aircraft over denied territory. They didn't officially exist. Their missions were never recorded. The men who flew them were ghosts. Their leader, the pilot who flew the most dangerous missions, the one who wrote the book on high-altitude, low-opening insertions, the man who could fly a wounded bird through a storm of anti-aircraft fire and bring his boys home, was Hawk 8. He pointed at Sam. This man flew an AC-130, nicknamed the Credible Sport with rockets, strapped to its fuselage in a test for a mission to rescue hostages. The plane crashed. He was burned over 60% of his body. 3 months later, he was flying again. He flew into a valley so deep and so heavily defended that it was called the Devil's Jaw to rescue a Green Beret team that was about to be overrun. He had no air cover, no support, and one of his engines was on fire. He landed that plane on a strip of dirt, no bigger than a football field under constant enemy fire, loaded up every last man, and flew out through the same wall of lead. Every man on that team is alive today because of him." The general's voice grew louder, echoing through the terminal. He was shot down 2 years later. He spent 4 years in a prisoner of war camp that no one knew existed. He was declared dead. The Medal of Honor was awarded to him posthumously in a classified ceremony. His family received a folded flag. Then, through a prisoner exchange, he came home. He refused public accolades. He refused to have his status as a living recipient made public. He just wanted to disappear. He wanted peace. He gave this country his youth, his health, and nearly his life. And in return, he asked for nothing, nothing. General Thompson turned back to Vance. You stand here in your perfect uniform, dripping with rank and entitlement, and you berate a man who has more courage, honor, and integrity in his little finger than you will ever possess. You questioned his service. Colonel, you are not worthy to stand in the same room as him. His words cut deeper than any reprimand. Master Sergeant Evans, the general commanded. Evans responded instantly. Sir, escort Chief Master Sergeant Peterson to my personal quarters. See that he gets a hot meal, a fresh uniform, and anything else he needs. He is to be my guest for as long as he wishes to stay. Yes, General, Evans said with pride. As Sam prepared to leave, he paused and looked at the shattered Colonel Vance. General Thompson addressed him one last time. You will report to my office at 0600 tomorrow morning in your service dress uniform. You and I are going to have a very long conversation about your future, one that will be exceptionally short. Vance, pale and broken, managed only, yes sir, before walking away. A quiet applause rose as Sam passed, a soft, respectful sound. Later that evening, after a meal and long conversation with the general, there was a knock at Sam's door. It was Colonel Vance, eyes red-rimmed, uniform immaculate but hanging loose flight cap in hand. Sir, may I have a word? Sam gestured him in. Vance stood stiffly. Sir, I am ashamed. My behavior was inexcusable, arrogant, cruel, dishonorable. I failed as an officer and as a human being. I can't undo it, but I offer my deepest apology. I am sorry. I was wrong. For the first time, Sam saw not a colonel but a humbled man facing the wreckage of his character. Sam studied him, then nodded. We all have bad days, son. Moments where we let the worst parts of ourselves take control. It's what you do next that defines you. He placed a hand on Vance's shoulder. Your apology is accepted. Now go be the leader your people deserve. Let this make you better. A tear rolled down Vance's cheek as he rendered a slow, perfect salute. Sam acknowledged it, and Vance left changed forever. Sam walked to the window, looking out at the endless night sky, the same sky he once owned, a testament to the heroes who walk unseen, asking for nothing.